about this morning is so non-technical. I mean, I think everybody was expecting to come out with flashing lights and put IT kit together, and I wanted to refrain from that because part of the process of doing IT is very untechnical. And one of those non-technical skills here is a subject called ATS. Now, ATS is a troubleshooting mechanism, a process of analysis. The only place you can get training for this subject now is in Singapore or Hong Kong. The company that devised this process were based in the UK about 15 years ago, and my company that I worked for at the time spent £25,000 per engineer. There were 20 of us, only 12 qualified and I was one. I'm the only remaining program leader in the southeast of the UK using this skill, so it's kind of a very unique thing. What is ATS? Well, Analytical Troubleshooting is what it stands for. And basically, what is Analytical Troubleshooting? Well, it's troubleshooting. I think it's problem solving, essentially. That's what it is. Or thinking hard, as some people call it. Now, there are only two types of troubleshooting that are available to any human being on the planet. First of all, is trial and error. And that's the most costly, effective process. If it doesn't work, change it, try it, did it work, try something else, try it again, change it, didn't work, try something else. It's the most expensive mechanism. Or knowledge and experience, and that is gaining the knowledge, learning the skill, and then implementing the skill that you are specifically trained to do. And that's kind of how troubleshooting works. But ATS basically states that thinking hard is useless on the basis that it has no visibility to the people outside, and it also doesn't have any service level agreement. So whilst your client is saying to you, are we nearly there yet? We're sitting there thinking, well, he's thinking about it. Do you know how long it's going to take? No idea at all. And that's the problem with thinking hard. So what we do is ATS makes it visible to everybody around you so that they know that you're actually doing something and where you are at the stage of the process. There's a case study I want to take you through. This was a live case study that we did in 1992. It was with HMS Belfast sitting out the front of the docks. The cost of the problem was £1.6 million. That's how much the problem actually costs. And the length of the time of the problem was 2 years and 7 months. And we managed to resolve that. Now, it was a client that we were working with. It wasn't my business. We'd been sent in there, me and another chap, John, we'd been sent in there to do a troubleshooting exercise. When we got there, come back to the nice grid, picture the scene. Okay, we had got building number 1, building number 2, very expensive, high net worth insurance company based in London, right next to HMS Belfast, and their building would communicate with the other building across the Thames. It saved people walking across and walking around the bridge to get there. This particular client had a situation where their servers would drop out and everyone in building 1 would lose the connections, and then for the best part of a day to half a day, the next morning everything would be perfectly okay. This went on forever and ever and ever. Nobody had resolved the problem. The first thing they did was they replaced the microwave dishes on either side. That cost them close to £500,000. Then they replaced the servers because the servers kept failing. That was another £250,000 there. The switches, the network switches were changed. That was another £100,000. And then some bright spark said, we really need to recable this building. We only moved in here 2 years ago, and they recabled the entire building. And the cost of that was £1.6 million, and they still had the problem. So they called us in using ATS, and this is basically what ATS did. It's a grid system. It's the way you work it is you actually put in a series of troubleshooting, and you ask specific questions to try and identify. First thing we needed to do, we need to find out what the problem was. When you ask a client normally what their problem is, they normally come out with a list of them. Well, the server's down and I can't print and he can't get the internet and he came in last Tuesday and can't get access to that. And that's basically what you get. We have to drill down and say, what is the actual problem? And it has to have an object and a defect. The object in this particular case was server 1. And the defect was loses connection. So that's basically what we, excuse my ends, this is what we worked with. So we said, okay, well, that's fair enough. We've got a grid system, an is and is not process here. So tell me here, what is having the problem? And I said, well, server number 1. Okay. What could be having the problem, but is not? Well, server 2, 3 and 4. So, okay, we know they haven't got a problem. Can we be more specific about the what? Yes, we can. Okay, it's basically the link between the buildings. We can't be more specific about that because that is exactly what our problem was. We then classify where is the problem? Well, the problem is actually only experienced in building number 1. Okay, but we know that it's not in building number 2. Okay, specifically where? Well, it was in the lower ground, in the basement. It was also in on every floor. The problem was every floor. Okay, and it was all users. So we knew that we had a problem that was fairly global. Where could the problem be? Where could the problem be specifically, but wasn't? We actually put here on some floors and some users. Okay, so it was all or nothing. When we asked for the when specifically has this problem taken place? How long? When does it happen? We gave them a when log sheet to monitor it, and these are the dates that we came up with. I'll jot these down because it will give you some idea as to the pattern that we had. Okay, we had specific times, and these specific times were the 1st of the 4th, 1992, 12:30. The 1st of the 5th, 1992, 12:15. 1st of the 6th, 1992, 12:10. Bearing in mind this has gone on for 2 years, 7 months. We then asked how many users were affected. 500. Okay, it could have been less than 500, but everybody was affected. It was 100% of a problem. Okay, one defect, always it went down completely. It was 100%. And then finally, we were saying that it's a periodic problem. It wasn't sporadic. Continuous problem. Okay. It was periodic. The reason it's periodic is because I've got specific dates and times. Now the interesting thing was, we were sitting there and I said to myself, these dates look specific. They look very, very specific. It interested me a bit. So we went downstairs into Foster Coffee down there, sat down there looking at the bay, took our time because we've been paying quite a lot of money to do this. And then decided that these dates were very specific. And we got out our paper diary and we started flicking through them. And one of my chaps said, these look like lunar cycles. I said, yeah, indeed they do. So, what happens on a lunar cycle? Tides. What happens on tide? Indeed. So, okay, don't need to draw that anymore. We walked across, we paid our £10 to get onto to HMS Belfast, and we said to we managed to get hold of the captain and said, is this battleship still in commission? They said, yes, indeed it is. We said, okay, do you still send out signals? Indeed we do. When was the last time you sent out a signal? When before? Can we do it again? So when we got to the 1st of the 7th, 1992, we actually got him to phone us 5 minutes before he was going to do the signal. And we sat there in an office with 250 workers, and as he flicked the switch and sent his blipper signals out, everybody in the room went, oh, for Christ's sake, it's gone again, bloody thing! And we just high-fived, and then we did it. Now, the interesting thing about this problem is that it cost £2,500 for 2 days' work for me and my colleague. £6,500 to put a 25-foot mast on the top of that building rather than the 6-foot mast that was on there and take it right out of range. £9,000 compared to the £1.2 million plus expenses they'd already spent. And that is ATS. Any questions?
I love it.
Any questions for Ray? We've got time for 3 questions.
Why isn't ATS taught over here anymore? Why is it only in Singapore?
It's an American-based system. It was the same process that was used to bring Apollo 13 down, and it's owned by a company called Kepler-Trago, and they will not source it out businesses